Hey there, my name is Matt, and this video will show you the exact steps that you need to do to create a digital product that sells every single time. Digital products are very good for two reasons. The first is they're a great way to monetize unqualified leads. If they can't afford your main service, might as well sell them a digital product. And the second is it's a great type of ad funnel, because if you had a digital product that is worth $100, for example, and you can spend $100 or less on Facebook ads to get a purchase, you're essentially getting new customers, acquiring leads, break even, completely risk-free without having to project cash flow or worry about getting your money back. So digital products are a very good addition to any agency, any B2B business, even B2C businesses. You can make a digital product for any business that you want. It just takes a little bit of creativity. So with that being said, let's get started. So on my screen, I have 5 points that I'm going to talk about in terms of paid product, how to create one. I'm going to talk about the structure, the bonuses, the upsells, sales, which is like selling it, and then converting people who buy the paid product into clients. So we can think of it in these 5 steps or 5 buckets, whatever you want to call it. The first one here is going to be the structure. So 5 points that are very important are it needs to either save them time or make them money. Should be $10 to $100 in price. It has to be automated. It can't be, I'll create 3 ad creatives for you for $97 is not a product. That's a service that costs $97. And that might sound obvious, but lots of people do it like that and say, look at my paid product. And then it's just like custom work. That's a service. This is a product, not a service. So it has to be automated, no fulfillment. Yes, standard. It should be interesting to all levels of the target market. And what that means is, it should be interesting to people who are absolute beginners just as much as it would be interesting to people who are, already established and very good at what they do, because you can't really control where your Facebook ads are going to show your digital product, and there's always going to be more newbies than, actual veterans, for example. So it can't just be something that would be only interesting to the very top of the market, which would be like typically your, the people who would buy your service. Because if that was the case, you'd never be able to justify it breaking even just because there's so few of those people in comparison to the overall market. So that's what I mean when it needs to be interesting to all levels of the target market. And then the 5th one is it needs to naturally lead into your service. If it doesn't lead into your service, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of this. If you sell email, marketing services and you're selling ad templates, it doesn't really make sense, does it? So let's go through these one at a time. Save them time or make them more money. Those are easy enough to understand in and of itself, but it needs to be obvious to them as well as how this does one of those 2 things. Not everything that saves them time will make them money. For example, you might have some spreadsheet or Notion templates that are very good for organization, but doesn't necessarily produce any revenue. Or you might have something like a challenge that makes them more money, but it doesn't save them time because they have to, actually put in the work. But the sweet spot is when you can get it to do both, save them time or make them money. And this basically means you're selling templates realistically. So, add templates saves them time. They don't need to get a designer. If it works, it makes them more money. Like that's a good example. So it has to be, actually do one of these 2 things. And it also has to be obvious as how it does one of these 2 things with bonus points on both. A digital product should be $10 to $100 in value. $100 should be the cutoff just because, psychologically that's, a ceiling or a plateau where, if your digital product costs $1,000, that's no longer an impulse buy that someone can buy off a Facebook ad. They have to think about it. They'll have to, get some email flows going, that kind of stuff, versus they see something for 47 or 97, like they could just buy it, and that's what we're going for. This kind of stuff would be a lot more similar to e-commerce than, the traditional lead gen ad. So just think of if you've ever been in e-commerce or you just kind of understand e-commerce, think of it in the same way. And with this $10 to $100, an important thing to understand is that the higher priced it is, the more likely they're going to be to become a client. And that's just how it is. Someone who can afford something that's $10, that's a certain class of people. And although, you'd think that $10 and $100 is, $90 difference, but you'd be amazed at the difference in quality of people you get. So if the purpose is to get clients, which it should be, because that's what this channel is all about, you want to have it near the $100 mark, $75, $97, something of that nature. And it's very important that you have it. So I have just something right here to, do a little bit of math for you. So if you had, a digital product that was $27 versus $97, I have some example math here. So let's just say, it's $2 or $1.50 cost per click for both of them to keep it constant. And let's give them a conversion rate. As you get a higher price, anything, the conversion rate's going to go down a bit, but let's say 3% conversion rate here would be pretty, I would say, standard. And then here, a 2% conversion rate. It would never be half in my experience, but it will be a bit less just because, $97 is different than, $27. But this is like a 33% decrease, right? That's not nothing. That's sizable, but it will never just be linearly like, this is roughly 3.5 times the price. It's not going to be 3.5 times worse conversion rate. It just doesn't work like that. So if you had a 3% conversion rate, that's 1 in 33 people buy, times the cost per click of $1.50. That's $49.50. And if you have this here, $49.50 cost per acquisition, but the 27 average order value, we're kind of losing money in this situation here. It's not working properly, right? But if you have a 2% conversion rate, that's 1 in 50 people buy. And if you times that by the $1.50 cost per click, that's $75 cost per acquisition on a 97 average order value. Now we're equals profitable, and this one equals a loss, right? And the whole point of trying to get these digital products is so that you can advertise at break even or profit, so you can just scale it up with no risk. So this is like something that you should be aware of, because it's going to be very difficult to get this to a break even situation at scale with something like a Facebook ad at less than $97. And we're going to go over upsells after and stuff like that, but it's just one of those things that you should be aware that you're going to have to, like, this is what the actual math may look like. It could be lower cost per click and higher conversion rate. It could be the opposite. It could be here, but like this is, if you're successful with it, like this is going to be like what it's going to look like, something like that. Versus, just like this. I know if you had like a 5% conversion rate, but that's kind of getting into unrealistic territory there. It might be better, but it's just one of those things where you should be aware of that. Even if we had a 1.5% conversion rate here. Let's just do version C just so we can keep it on the screen. Let's say 1.5%, which is 1 in every 66 people buying. So that is going to be, 1 in 66 times 1.5. That's a $99 customer acquisition cost. Like this is good enough really where, you're losing a couple bucks per order, where it would just be like, you could stomach that because you're going to get a certain percentage of the most clients. But if you're losing just huge money on every order here, it's not good enough and it's not going to work. So it's just one of those things where you should be aware of this, and the pricing and what you decide to do for the pricing is very important. Automated, it needs to be delivered via an email flow or something like that. Like you not involved in any way, because when you're making this funnel, like you're not trying to sell 1 or 2 per day. If you're really getting it to work and have a situation that's like this, let's get a border on here, or some highlights here. if you get a situation like this, you're going to want to spend as much money as possible and get as many sales as possible, because this is how you're basically, like, you're using a digital product here to generate leads for free. Basically, that's what you're trying to do. You're never going to make any money like on this digital product. Like, that's not where the profit is. The profit is taking a small percentage of people who buy the digital product and selling them your service after. So it's just one of those things. So let's go to this one here. And this is what I did at my old agency that I exited. I had an agency that did landing pages and CRO for e-commerce stores. So my digital product was 100 landing page templates for $97. So let's go over that. It's in the price range. It saves them time because they don't need to design them themselves, and it could make them more money if it's successful. So there's a, check number one. Let's get a marker here. Check number one. Oh, it's purple on purple action. It's in the $10 to $100 range because it was $97. Automated, no fulfillment. You just share them with a link. It's interesting to all levels of the target market. It's interesting to drop shippers. It's interesting to people who don't even have an e-commerce store. It's interesting to beginners, intermediates, even the CEOs or someone who has a 9 or 10 figure revenue business. Very interesting to them. And you'd be surprised how many 9 and 10 figure businesses bought these templates. It's not a small amount. So there we go here, and it naturally leads into my service. Like, they might just say, okay, these templates were good. I might as well get him to make me a landing page. So that's an example that ticks all of the boxes. And I probably wouldn't, if you have a landing page agency, like, you're welcome to do this, but I've pretty much smashed the market on that one. And I don't know how many people would buy them anymore, but that was it. Like a year ago, almost, a little bit more actually. So who knows? The next thing is the bonuses. And this is a very important thing. And this is where, this is the only video on the, internet that's going to teach you properly here. So there's a few things here. I'm just going to go over them one at a time. To understand why this is important, we need to understand a lead magnet funnel versus a paid product funnel. So this is the 1000x leads funnel diagram, and paid ads is up here. So you can see paid ads can go to products over here. Wow, that was the worst line I've ever drew, but we're just going to leave it. Or you can go to lead magnets, and lead magnets, hopefully you know the term by now, but they're like pieces of value that, can teach people, show you know what you're talking about, that kind of stuff. So let's just go here, because this is very important to understand. These are some problems with starting a YouTube channel. So let's put ourselves in the situation that we are a YouTube agency. We do editing, thumbnails, that kind of stuff. If a business owner wants to do YouTube, there's a lot of different things that they need to understand or think about. They need to, set up their lights and camera. How do they make good titles? How do they make good thumbnails? How do they do SEO? Come up with ideas, scripts, all of this stuff. It's very hard, right? If you're watching this and you want to start a YouTube channel and you don't have one yet, you might be thinking of this kind of stuff. Us, in this case, as the YouTube agency owner, we know how to do all of this stuff, but our clients and our target market don't, and a lot of people take that for granted. So what we'd want to do is all of the problems we'd want to make a lead magnet to solve, so that, every single problem, every single objection, every single step or part of the service, we have something to educate people. And by doing so, we're going to build a lot of trust and set ourselves up as an expert in their minds. It becomes very natural. If you've already solved all their problems and concerns with your lead magnets, they might as well just hire this guy or this girl. Very natural for that to happen. And that's how it happens in the real world at scale. A lot of people will just make one lead magnet, and there's two problems with that. The first is, in this case, the specific one we're doing, the lead magnet is how to set up your camera and lighting. That's fine, that's a part of the process, but there's always going to be a percentage of the market who doesn't have that problem. They already know how, they just watched a YouTube video, they don't even have lighting to set up or a camera, so they don't need that. And if we only have the one lead magnet, we're not going to, be able to capture that part of the target market. They might not have camera and lighting problems, but they might have thumbnail problems and would download that lead magnet if it existed, right? The second problem, and the bigger problem, is, people don't buy things until every objection is handled. And if you only have one lead magnet, you might handle that one objection, but the rest of them still exist and they're not buying from you. They're wondering who can help them with the other problems, and your competitor's going to do this. And that's, if you've ever been ghosted before, you probably didn't solve every single one of the problems, and they're looking for someone else who can solve it. If you solved all these problems, there would be no shopping around or, getting quotes or talking to different people. They would just be buying from you. And that's the truth of the matter here. The reason why this is relevant is that when you're running paid ads to your lead magnets and you're hitting them all, and they're hitting your email flows and stuff, and they're going into your groups and communities and stuff like that, you're nurturing them, you're solving all their problems. But if we're going straight to our product here, like, that is not happening, right? Because as you can see, we're going a completely different path. They have not gotten these lead magnets. They have not gotten a lot of these email flows. They have not gotten, invites to the community or reaching out to your appointment setter or all of that kind of stuff. That stuff has not occurred. That's a very important thing to understand, because we might get if we just sell the product, we're going to get a lot of product sales. But if all of these objections aren't overcome and we haven't set ourselves up as the expert, we're not going to be getting any clients out of the matter. It's just going to basically stop right here versus, going to qualified or unqualified and stuff like that. Very important. So I didn't understand that for a long time when I was a much younger man, until my first mentor explained it to me. And now, thank gosh he did. So what we need to do is basically take the lead magnets we've already created, because we should also have lead magnets, and essentially repackage them as bonuses. So if we have a bunch of different lead magnets here, let's go to that YouTube example here and let's write them down a little bit. So YouTube lead magnets. So we have let's get this to the left side here. Let's get this up, kind of having a meltdown here. So if we have our YouTube lead magnets, we have our camera plus lighting, we have our thumbnails, we have our titles, we have our SEO, we have, scripting or scripts, we have video ideas, we have the microphones, we have maybe editing. Like, these are the lead magnets that we would make in this situation. These would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, this is what you would be doing. So let's go and see how we could repackage them. YouTube bonuses, camera and lighting guide, that'd probably be camera and lighting checklist, let's just say. Thumbnail asset templates, so you just have 150 different thumbnail things that they could just do in Canva. Swipe file of winning titles, YouTube SEO checklists plus copy and paste templates for different stuff like the tags and the description and all that kind of stuff. Scripting checklist, video idea generator, ChatGPT, microphone plus audio checklist, pre-made CapCut editing templates for the hook and intro, or something like that. So now, your YouTube bonuses or your YouTube lead magnets become YouTube bonuses, and that's how you would repackage them, for example. So what you want to do here is you want to have at least a minimum of 4 bonuses. And the 4 bonuses that I usually like, and this is, I know we just talked about the lead magnet here, but YouTube's bonus stack, you want to have, basically repurpose all of your lead magnets. The next one is you want to have a community invite, because that helps you build a relationship with them, paid only. So if your community is, $99 per month, for example, and if you don't have one, it's worth it to make one for this. They just get a year's access to it, right? So something like that, year's access. This is a really tried and true way to do this. So another thing to add to the value stack, all kinds of, and you would do something like this. It'd be, so if I had my landing page templates, or if you had YouTube templates, you'd have, your thumbnail templates, you'd have swipe files of winning titles, plus swipe files of winning templates or winning thumbnails, swipe files, something like this. But you want to have as much stuff as possible to make it as easy, but you also want to have this community invite, because that's how you're going to build the best relationship with them to essentially, I'll just delete that because it's redundant, but you want to have this year's access to the community, because that's what is the best opportunity to build the relationship to where they will actually trust you to become, or to buy from you, basically. So very important that you have this, because when you do it like this, you're essentially it's not a perfect path, but you're essentially going from, paid products into community, into, determining whether they're qualified or they're not qualified, something like that. Versus, if you don't have something like this, you're kind of expecting them to go from a paid product to just reaching out to you on their own. And that's just going to be a much lower percentage. So if you go from the paid product basically back a little bit to the community and you get a relationship, you're going to be able to tell a lot better if they're qualified or not, and they're going to be much more likely to trust you. So it's just important that you have this YouTube community bonus here. So YouTube community. So let's just go YouTube community, years access, 1080 value or something like that. Thumbnail reviews, script or hook reviews or something basic, something like that. Outlier videos, something of that nature. The important thing when we're doing this here is each of these bonuses should be worth the price of the info product on its own. So when you have your list of bonuses like this, we have to not only make the bonuses good, but we have to present them in a way that it would be definitely the person could understand how it would be worth it. So if this was $97, we need to justify to the person buying it why each of these things is worth $97. And if we can't justify that, we should probably delete it from, the stack here, the bonus stack. So camera and lighting checklist, it's going to be hard to justify why that's worth $97, but, the increased production value, will get you X more views. If each view is worth Y, then this is worth, 97 to you, something like that. So you'd go through and using logic and reason, and it has to make sense. Trust me, you can't just make it up and gaslight people. It's not going to work. You have to be able to explain why each of these bonuses is worth it. And if you can't, then you hit the delete button. You don't include it, or you try to combine it with a different one, or you try to, reframe it a little bit. But it's very, very important that you use logic and reason to explain why it's worth the cost, because that's what's going to really increase your conversion rate. So if they were interested enough on, this YouTube, thumbnail templates, for example, they're willing to pay $97 for that, but now they get all of these other things that are also worth $97 to them. And that's what's really increases the conversion rate from this example. That's what's going to take this 2% to 4%, and you're going to be printing as opposed to just barely scraping by. Very important stuff to consider. The next thing is upsells. So I say to try to aim for a $100 AOV. You want to price your product as high as possible, but you can use order bumps, post-purchase, email flows, that kind of stuff to get to that $100 AOV. And the $100 AOV is just mostly just to give you as much wiggle room as possible for your paid ads, so you can get as high of cost per acquisition as possible. It's like we said earlier, it's just going to be very difficult to make it work on a low AOV, especially nowadays when Facebook ads are more expensive than they used to be. And let's just leave it at that. So let's go through it. An order bump, you might have something like, I clicked on this Notion template for the Ultimate Productivity System, but now you could also get the Ultimate Finance Tracker and Time Tracker too. That's kind of an order bump or a frequently bought together. It's a good example. So if you have something that you could also sell, and it doesn't have to be expensive, even, $20 here, $15 there, $47 there, and a small percentage of people buying those can really increase your average order value quite a bit. You might also have something on the post-purchase page after they buy. Like if one of the best things to do here, if it like makes sense to do so, the best post-purchase upsell is more of the same thing for cheaper. So if I had something that was like these YouTube templates, right? If I was selling 150, let's just go 100 YouTube thumbnail assets for $97, I might sell another 200 thumbnail assets for $47 or something like that. So then they have 300 total. And you really want to make it like a no-brainer offer like that. $97 for 100 plus another 200 for 47 is going to outperform 147 for 300 by like a factor of 5. It's all how you frame it and how you put it in the steps. So if it makes sense to do something like that, and that's what I was doing with my landing page templates, just sell them more of the same thing for cheaper and better value. It's very important. So what you do is you'd have something like this. You'd have something on the post-purchase page, and then you'd have email flows, and hopefully that's going to get you a combination of those things. If you're not already at that $100 average order value, hopefully that's going to get you there. And then the next thing I want to talk about is like a stepping stone upsell. And I call it a stepping stone upsell. No real thought behind it. I just started calling it that once, and I called it that forever. So what you want to do is let's go back and say it's these YouTube thumbnail templates is the paid product. So what we might do, let's put that down here. So YouTube thumbnail templates. Let's make it a little lighter to differentiate a little bit. So what we might do is, we'd have a 2-day YouTube live workshop or something like that. And the point of it is to further build the relationships with them, but it's also to get them to hit what we'll call activation points here. So like you might have sold them the thumbnail templates and some bonuses. Like let's just say you did the thumbnail templates, the camera, the video ideas and the scripts and that kind of stuff. Like that is an example of a job well done in terms of, and the titles too, that's a job well done in terms of like trying to get as many of these objections out of the way via bonuses. But these other ones here are still existing, right? So if you have like a live workshop of this nature, like you can nail the other ones very concentrated in another like 2-day live workshop, where now if we change the color here, we might go from paid products to live workshop. So now they're in our group and our live workshop, and they're going to be receiving our newsletter and our appointment setter, and hopefully they'll be seeing some content. So now like we're getting somewhere, right? Now we have tons of different paths for them to actually become clients versus just selling them the paid product. And that's why this kind of stuff is going to be so good for, you. So maybe we'll have this live workshop for like $47 or something. You can, they've already paid $97, and it's, theoretically they might just buy this, and who knows, like if you're doing serious volume with this, like you have this, you have this profitable ad funnel, you're going to be getting 500, 1,000 sales a week, right? You're going to be able to fill a live workshop and build that relationship, get some even more money, start to get some profit here, and make it much more likely they just hire you to do the work for them. So it's very, very important stuff. Very important stuff. So let's go to the sales, and this is like selling the paid products. So you're going to be doing this basically through ads and through content. Content will be easier to sell and it's free. Ads are going to be more, like way more volume, way more sale or scale, but it's going to be paid, of course. So what you want to do is a couple of things. The first thing you want to do, and what I did here, not what I did in my last agency, but you can just go on Ads Library or scroll your Instagram account and you'll find someone who like made a landing page already that you kind of like, and you'll just go to Fiverr, Fiverr Webflow designer or developer. Oops, not that one. And then you'll find someone. So like Webflow, where are the prices here? You want to find someone who has like a $97 price or something. You shouldn't use Fiverr Pro, but whatever. You'll go to Webflow, find someone who'll do it for like, we don't need Pro. There we go. That's better. So we'll find someone like this who will do it. We'll tell them, or maybe we might do a few. We'll tell them the link of what we want to do, and then we'll get them to remake it. And then you just have a pre-made template that is good enough to do it right away instead of having to try to worry about developing it yourself. So that's the first step, because we want to have a simple landing page that's focused on copy. Like with this situation, you're not going to want to worry about design too much. You're going to sell these with words, not with some weird pictures and stuff. It's very, very, very important that you do it like this. Simple copy. And what you want to do, either on the landing page or in your ads, is give it 100% like full demonstration. So you want to do it like this, where if you go into Ads Library and you see like, this is, where was that? This was these Notion templates here. Like this person is giving the demonstration, like you're seeing what you're getting. And this is very important when you're selling info products, that they see what they're getting either in the ad or on the page or both, because that's going to increase your conversion rate by like literally double. And this person does a pretty good job of showing what's going to happen and what they're going to get. So it's very, very important that you have, you're selling it through ads and content on a simple copy focused landing page, and you're giving them 100% demonstration. It's very, very important that you have all of those things in there. And in terms of selling it, those three things on their own are going to be like the bulk of the value. And what you want to do here is you want to do 3 new ad creatives every Monday. And you want to A/B test your landing page, your sales page, landing page, on the 1st and 15th of every month. You want to do this because, especially at the start, you're not going to have enough ad spend most likely to, justify more than 3 new ad creatives every Monday. And then you're not going to have enough traffic to justify more A/B tests. This is an A/B test every 2 weeks. You might test completely different pages against each other. You might test headlines. You might test all of that kind of stuff to get those incremental improvements, right? We've all seen that thing where, 1% better every day times 365 days, you're 37.78 times better after the course of a year. Of course, that's probably going to be unrealistic, but even if you got 5% better, 12 months, that's 79% better. If you got 5% better every month on average for 12 months, you might have months where you don't get better at all and months where you get 20% better or something like that. If you got 5% better every month, that's 79% better. That's like basically, I'm not going to say doubling because it's 79% better, but that's like cutting your customer acquisition cost from like $90 to $50 type thing. And you can check that math yourself. I just made it up, but it's probably something close to that. If you got it 10% better every month for 12 months, you're going to get 3 times as better. And you're going to need to be making these improvements because as you scale your ad spend, the effectiveness is going to go down. You're going to work through your target market. You're going to reach broader and broader audiences who are less likely to buy. So you're going to be needing to get these improvements basically, if not only to stay at the same pace. So very, very important stuff. The next and final part of this is converting it into clients. So think about it. If you're getting them to pay $97, for example, for your product versus downloading a free lead magnet, these people are going to be way more qualified to buy your service than just people who download free lead magnets. I can't speak for what's a good conversion rate because I'm sure it would be way different, and it depends not only on the product, but all of your systems and your reputation, your case studies, and all of that kind of stuff. But I know just by comparing the Stripe list of people who bought my landing page templates versus the customer list, about 2.1% of them who bought the landing page templates became customers. You can decide if that's good or not. But if the average landing page job, because I sold one for $2,500 or three for $5,000, and the average kind of ticket price is $3,300 because most people bought one, but not all of them. If you have that, so $3,300 times 0.21%, that's like adding another $69.30 per order. Right? On average, if you just take the average of one client times it by the 2.1%. So basically, that would be like adding $69.30 to this $97, if you think of it that way. So hopefully you do think of it that way, because that's the proper way to think about it. And hopefully that makes sense to you. Plus $69.30, my new, I'm not going to do this math on camera because I did it last video and I screwed it up. So now, like theoretically, because I had an upsell after that too, I could spend $166 on a customer and be breaking even or comfortable that I'm going to get my money back. So it's all of this stuff that works together and this is like the math you're going to have to do for yourself if you want to do it like that. But these leads are more qualified. I converted at 2.1%. As long as you're breaking even, just scale it as big as you possibly can, because the main benefit of doing this is, unlike the lead magnet path where you kind of got to project your ad spend and be a little bit cautious, you're getting your cash flow instantaneously here. They're coming to your site, they're paying or they're not paying. And if they're paying, you're getting that money, similar to selling an e-commerce product. And that's like the main benefit of doing this, right? Versus having to do it the other way. So if it's working for you, take advantage of it. Don't just be a little baby and be cautious and stuff. Actually go and scale it as big as you possibly can. And once you have this paid product sold, you want to have, like I said, that offer to go to the live workshop. You want to have that your newsletter sending to them. You want them to get in your community. Your appointment setter should be contacting them. They're going to be more likely to see your content because of the algorithms and how they work. They should see some retargeting ads. Your lead magnets are going to be packaged up as bonuses, right? So all of these things are going to work together to get them to become clients. And if you don't have all of these things working together, you're just going to sell a lot of paid products and no one's ever going to buy your main service from you. And that's just how it works. So you need to have all of this stuff. None of it works, on its own. It's how it all works together. Very, very important realization. So those are the 5 steps. And hopefully this video is going to show you or showed you all of the 5 steps. We have our structure, our bonuses, our upsells, our sales, and converting them into clients. Subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.